Hi, this is Mark, and you're listening to Sports, Politics, and Occasionally Cats. Spoc. Welcome to our podcast today, where you will learn interesting and funny stories about sports, of course, and occasionally politics, but more importantly, stories about wonderful cats in Emmett's life. We're so glad you're here. You can follow us on all the Instagram sites and Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and wherever you get podcasts. Remember, it's sports, politics, and occasionally cats.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Sports, Politics, and Occasionally Cats. My name is Emmett.
And I'm Dad. I'm Mark. And welcome to episode 5 of Spoc. Glad to have you back with us. And be sure to check us out on YouTube, looking for
Sports, Politics, and Occasionally Cats.
Okay, we got a lot to talk about this week, Emmett. So what are we going to touch on? We got baseball, football, a lot going on in the world. But what should we kick off with? What do you think?
How about the Royals?
Yeah, well, they're still about where we left off last week. They're still 4 games out of the wild card hunt, but they keep getting up to 500, dropping a game below. Up to 500, drop. You know, they took 2 out of 3 against the Nationals, which is good. It would have been nice to get 3 out of 3.
Yeah.
So who are the teams in front of us that we need to have either them start losing or us start gaining games on them?
The Yankees.
Yep.
And then behind them are the Guardians and the Rangers. We actually play the Rangers next week.
We've got 4 games against the Rangers. And if we could sweep 4 from the Rangers, that'd be sweet. That'd put us back in the hunt.
And that could also maybe give us the tiebreaker, because if it comes to tiebreakers, that would give us the tiebreaker, and we would.
Because we'd won the series against the Rangers, is that it?
Yeah, and we also won the series in Texas against the Rangers. Cags' first 2 home runs.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, go Cags.
For those of you who don't know, Cags is what we call Caglione, our new guy.
Yeah, Joe Caglione, big power hitter, drafted last year and already making to the big league roster. It's pretty exciting. But, yeah, we need to keep running. You know, they're doing better, but they're not just blowing it out of the park. We were talking the other night when we went to the game with your brothers. The Royals hitting needs to pick up a little bit. Their pitching has been kind of strong, but, you know, a couple little limp-alongs with our friend Carlos Estevez. Had a rough outing yesterday, but, you know, they've got players. We just need to get firing on all cylinders and get beyond that 500 team we've been all season.
Yeah, and it's not going to be an easy road for the Royals to make it to the wild card at this point. It's partially an exaggeration, partially not. But the Yankees, Guardians, and Rangers are all going to have to implode for that to happen. I mean, the Yankees are already imploding, but the Guardians and Rangers are going to have to implode too.
Yeah. After the trades and whatnot with the Guardians, they're still hanging in there tough and playing good ball. I think they've won maybe 8 games in a row. They've got a little bit of a winning streak. Like you said, the Yankees are kind of limping along. They've had some rough outings, some bad play. You know, for our sake, let's hope that keeps up.
And, yeah, the Yankees have been on a slide ever since the Royals lost all 3 to them in June. Like, they've been going downhill ever since that.
Yeah. I can't remember what the record is, but I think since the All-Star break, they've had a losing record. So hopefully they keep playing like that, and we can get the Rangers sort of were counted out a few weeks back, but now they're making a charge, hoping to get into the playoff this year again. And let's hope, like you said, we can have the teams in front of us, the Guardians, in particular Rangers, stumble a little bit coming up. And the best place to stumble for the Rangers would be a 4-game sweep here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be sweet? The sweet sweep. Say that 5 times fast. Sweet, sweet.
I'm not going to try because I'd get tongue-tied too quickly anyway.
Okay.
So, I mean,
moving on. The Royals.
So, at the beginning of the season, well, from what I was hearing, the Royals had winning the division aspirations. I think the highest we can – I mean, unless the Tigers just all of a sudden fall apart themselves, we don't have a chance at the division. And the Guardians would have to implode too. But the best we can do is probably a wild card at this point.
Yeah, and doesn't matter, I guess, what your record is or standing is in the division. If you make it into the wild card
You have a chance.
you have a chance. That's all we can ask for. That's what the Royals did in 2014. Remember that low and away ball that Salvi hit to pull the game out in extra innings? So we just need a little luck like that going ahead. So let's, so far, based on the trade deadline, what have been some of the surprises of some of the players we've acquired? What have you been most impressed by?
I'll be honest, and this is negative, I'm aware, but I'm not too impressed with Berger, if that's how you say his name, and the other guy, Falter, I think is his name. Mm-hmm. I'm not too impressed with them because at least the games I've listened to them pitch in, they've lost both games.
Yeah, they've kept the games tight, though, in their defense, particularly Berger's. I mean, he's gone 5 2/3 innings, kept the games close. We weren't able to pull them out and win. And but my vote is I think they're good additions not only for this year but into the future for the Royals pitching staff. What do they always say about pitching? You can't have too much.
Yeah, I heard Freddie Fermin got a home run for the Padres. That's good for Freddie and good for the Padres. Maybe the Royals can somehow make it to the playoffs. We can get to the World Series and play the Padres and see Freddie again.
Wouldn't that be sweet? That'd be great. But yeah, there was some chatter on social media that a lot of the San Diego fans were like, "Whoa, we got Freddie Fermin. Maybe we didn't give up that much." And the Royals are thinking, "We only gave up Freddie Fermin and got 2 solid pitchers." So I guess that's the definition of a good trade, where both teams feel like they got the better of the deal.
How about you? Are there any players you're impressed with at their trade deadline?
Yeah, well, I like the pitching. I really like what they've done there because I think that helps us out this year, particularly when we were getting a little thin. And unfortunately, it seems like Lugo's had a couple bumpy games of late, so I'm looking forward to his next start. But as for the players we got, I think pitching first and foremost, I think will help. Second, I don't think we gave up that much, as I've said before. And I kind of like the Grichuk and Yastrzemski rotation in the outfield. I think that brings us more than we were fighting, more tools than we had before the trade deadline. So hopefully the two of them can get a little bit on a tear and give us some additional offense. I'd be curious when Cags comes back up, what the time off and a little studying of film and everything else will do to help him maybe break out a little bit more than he had before he got injured.
Yeah, I was having a hard time thinking of players I'm impressed with from the trade deadline, but definitely Yaz. I was at camp the first weekend he played for the Royals, and his first at bat with the Royals, monster home run.
Yeah,
so
gotta like that.
So Yaz is definitely a plus side when it comes to the trade deadline.
So I think they made some smart moves, added some depth in the pitching and a little more power, wins above average in the outfield. So let's hope they can make that run and head into the playoffs and get in there. Just think of how much we'll have to talk if they make the playoffs, Emmett.
And I mean, I haven't totally lost faith when it came to us making the playoffs, because remember 2022 Baltimore Orioles, 2019 Washington Nationals, both teams that were below 500, and then to varying degrees, and then rallied and made the playoffs, and one of those teams won a championship in 2019. I'll let you guess who.
Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so let's keep hope, until they're mathematically out of it, and as long as they got a chance. They just need to pull off something they haven't done since early in the season, get a real solid winning streak.
Yeah.
We need to, pull off 7 out of 8, 8 out of 10, something like that in the coming week.
So do you still like Q? Q led us to the playoffs last year, and this year under him we're not doing as well. So do you think he'll be around on opening day 2026?
Let me answer in one word. Yes. I think Q's a pretty good manager. I think the fact that he's got us in contention with some weak hitting way down from last year is pretty good. I think, we got to evaluate some of the readiness of the players. The base running is a bit off and some defensive lapses, and the hitting isn't up to where it could be. So, those might be questions they need to address, but I'm solidly in Q's court as of where we're at right now. I think he's done a great job.
Yeah, Q definitely brought us back from a horrible season. In the second season we had Q, the Royals went from 56 wins to 86 wins and then made it to the ALDS. So Q should stay around.
Yeah, I think he'd be hard to beat right now. Well, that's a good wrap on baseball. Go Royals. Let's hope some teams ahead of us lose. Let's keep up the fight and keep pulling some games off. But the other big news since we last had our last episode dropped, as Chiefs had their first preseason game. I know you've been looking forward to football. You want the Chiefs to go undefeated in preseason, undefeated in the season.
I mean,
all kind of not likely, but
the 1976, I think, Dolphins went 16-0. So.
Oh, that was regular season. That's a good question though. What they do in the preseason? But as you and I talk all the time, the preseason is really a way to evaluate players, particularly those they've drafted and undrafted free agents and other people they've brought in, to really find the best 53 players and then the best 10 or so they can put on the practice squad. But back to their first preseason game. I mean, Patrick Mahomes had a perfect night.
Yeah.
One pass for one reception and one touchdown. You can't get much better than that.
Yeah, and then I definitely like Gardner Minshew. Minshew did very well for the game. I am very impressed with him. The Chiefs should, and of course, now that I've said this, he'll probably play on Friday and struggle. But you can't blame me for being a jinx anyway. So, but Gardner Minshew, I'm very impressed with him. I think he should. If you're looking to keep quarterbacks after the preseason, they need to keep Minshew because he was definitely good. Did you like Zappy?
I think Zappy had a bit of a rough game. When you look at him and Azu, I can never get his name. Ozzy, how about that?
Yeah, we'll call him that.
Yeah, he had some impressive moves and scrambling around but ended up being an incompletion. But I think the real battle is probably who's the third quarterback on the roster, and I think both Zappy and Oz are strong candidates. It'll be curious to see who comes out of that competition and wins.
Yeah,
but I'm like you. I think Minshew was a good signing. It's good to have somebody with some pretty strong experience as a backup. So we'll probably get to see a lot of them Friday night in the exhibition game.
Yeah.
It's going to be a late one, but it'll be a good game to watch anyway. I thought the defense did fairly well, getting a lot of new faces and names in the rotation, both on the line and as well as linebacker and DB. Unfortunate that as Devin Bush went down with an Achilles injury.
Yeah.
Hate to see that to any player, particularly losing them in preseason. But I think it's looking like a pretty solid defensive unit based on what little bit I saw.
Yeah, and I wasn't counting because I didn't think to, and I was also trying to watch the Royals game. But
it's tough being in all these sports going on all at once, right?
But they definitely have several. The Chiefs definitely forced several interceptions and turnovers in that game, and that's the kind of defense I feel like they could get us to another Super Bowl for what I'm going to call our revenge tour this year.
Redemption tour. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's motivated the players. But yeah, and also getting that depth on the defensive line and getting more pressure on the quarterbacks, keeping them, it seems like against the Chiefs, once quarterbacks get out of the pocket, get moving around, we have a hard time getting them down. So a little bit more of that containing in the pocket so we can put more pressure and maybe force some more turnovers would be something I'd be looking for moving forward.
Yeah, and the preseason games don't matter, but I just like all I'm asking of the Chiefs is that they don't go 0-3 in preseason. Like if they go 1-2, I'll be happy. But like last year when they went 0-3, I was sweating bullets. I'm like, oh my gosh, the Chiefs dynasty is ending. Oh my gosh.
I don't think it's quite ready, although there's been seen some other chatter and reporting out there. Is the Chiefs dynasty over? Other teams taking over, and I'm kind of like, Patrick, until he does something bad, and I think anything of talking about the Chiefs' run of quality play, and let's face it, even on the New England, when they were so-called dynasty, they didn't make it to the Super Bowl every year. But you look back, the last 6 years we've been in the AFC Championship game, so that's hard to not call a dynasty.
Yeah, and we've only had to play one AFC Championship game on the road, and
playoff game.
Yeah, and I remember it was me, Dad, my two brothers. Danny was sitting on the floor for the entire game, and we won the game. So
every time the games get tough, we make Danny get back down on the floor to bring us good luck. Not that we're superstitious or anything, but you never know. Good luck charms do work sometimes. So
yeah.
But so I think the Chiefs are still going to make a good run. I'll be curious this week. I'm thinking and reading that Patrick probably won't play. And I bet a lot of starters won't. So I think this week and the following week, particularly game 3, you're going to see a lot of the people on the cusp of making the roster getting a lot of playing time, build up their film for evaluation either by the Chiefs or by other teams moving forward. So I think, probably not likely they're going to win any games, but I just hope they find the best players possible.
And one last thought, and then I'm fine moving on. I on the one hand, I want them to play Mahomes for a little bit of the game, just because the more you play Mahomes, the greater chance you have to win. But the game against Seattle is on a turf field, and the problem with turf fields is it is easier to have an injury on a turf field than grass, I feel like. And if Mahomes slips on the turf and gets bitten by what they call the turf monster, is what I've heard. I've heard that online. If that happens and Mahomes can't play for some other regular season, we're cooked a little bit.
It does make it tough. But that's a good point that you bring up. If it is a turf field, I haven't thought of that. That's a good reason not to play Mahomes, and maybe even some of the other starters. You want to make sure. One other thing, I thought Josh Simmons came out and played a pretty strong offensive tackle. Yeah. Looked like he is back from his injury, which is good news, and looked like he did a good job keeping the pass rushers in front of him, built the pocket and protected the pocket. So that was encouraging to see some good O-line play. My contention all along is you've got to have a good, strong offensive and defensive line to go anywhere. And I think the Chiefs, the 2 times they've lost the Super Bowl, was due to injuries in part, injuries and a lack of depth along the offensive line that got them in trouble. So hopefully they can build that depth up this year, get, career-like players, particularly at left tackle on the left side for Mahomes, and build a strong line. They've got a pretty good interior with Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey. I think just locking down solid play along the line at tackle, in particular, both sides, is really important. But my first take on Josh Simmons is like maybe the steal of the draft.
Yeah.
So that's good.
So
go ahead, Emmy. We were going to move. Anything else on the Chiefs other than go Chiefs?
Chiefs. I was actually going to help transition on a third topic.
Anyways, okay, good.
For some reason, RFK Jr.
Yeah, that's Robert F. Kennedy. And who is he? What's he run? Junior.
He's like the head of the
Health and Human Services.
Yeah.
And so he oversees all the science and medical science. And
he's a known anti-vaxxer.
Yeah. So he's been kind of pushing this whole agenda of killing off funding for the mRNA vaccine tool, cut about $500 million out from that, making it less requirements for people, a little more optional to get things like the COVID vaccine, all of which for 2 people who fall into that category that need vaccines. It seems like it just sows a lot of doubt where we don't need to have doubt. And frankly, everything you read and what you can follow, the science that they're using to back up some of these decisions seems pretty shaky. Yeah. How's that kind of make you feel to think, gee, I would like a vaccine, but it may be hard to get one?
I mean, it's honestly kind of scary that they're rolling back vaccines. I mean, honestly, I mean, thankfully, I don't have like a severe immunodeficiency, but I might still have one. We thought I had one right before COVID anyway. So, but like there are people out there that like I've got a friend named Kelsey who has been sick for many years. I probably shouldn't. Okay, whatever. Anyway,
yeah, well, you have a good friend. We don't need to mention it, but the point is, whether he gets a vaccine or not is his decision. But
anyway, the point is, someone like that needs vaccines can't get one. Might not be able to get one to save their lives, and that could be horrible for them.
And that's for current vaccines too, like the COVID vaccine and flu shots and other things. So it'd be nice if we could make it easier. And for some people, they won't be able to get it paid for under insurance, but also killing off treatments that some of this technology that they withdrew funding for was even going to be kind of helping facilitate research on leading edge cancer treatments and other treatments. And so it seemed to me penny wise and foolish to drop the vaccine and funding for those things in the face of not only the pandemic we've just come through, but other issues we've may deal with in the future.
I mean, there's some new virus coming out of China that I can't pronounce. So don't ask me, please. Or anyway, but it's like chai.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, that doesn't matter. It's some kind of virus that comes from mosquitoes coming out of China, and we aren't saying it's going to be the next COVID, but what if it was? And RFK and all these people refuse to make a vaccine for it. That's going to be horrible for the population.
Right.
I mean,
and I think to your point too, it's kind of anxious to think that there may be some other problems that will emerge, and they're likely to emerge, and that the experience we've just gone through hasn't informed people well enough to think about making sure we're doing all the research we could to make sure we keep the public healthy and safe. Yeah. And I know a lot of people out there don't think you should take any vaccines, and that's kind of personal choice. But making it harder for those who want to get them is probably not a good thing. And cutting off research that might help a whole array of people, whether they're vaccines or other treatments, seems kind of.
And I mean, it's just I don't think RFK and Trump realize how dangerous of a game they're playing by slashing vaccines like this, because there are people that need a vaccine because they have a very weakened immune system, and like my grandpa, for example.
Well, just without naming names, I mean, we have elderly grandparents who would benefit from a vaccine, other relatives.
Yeah.
We have people in our own house who have varying degrees of some immunosuppression.
Yeah.
We have people in our family who are around young kids and older adults that probably ought to be protected.
Yeah. I mean,
and what, if I go to get my shots this fall, I hope they don't say, well, they're not required, so we can't pay for it. It would seem unfair.
And then the next problem is if they slash funding and slash research on vaccines, we could be dealing with insurance may use that as a excuse to stop paying for them because the Department of Health and Human Services decides it's not important to have vaccines for. The whole thing's just a horrible situation, and I very much believe that we are taking a bad route here when it comes to how the government's choosing to spend their time. I'll put it that way.
I think that's well said. Yeah. And again, bottom line is we should make it easier for people who want them to get the vaccines, and we should support good, strong science. And as we head into people going back to school and flu season and we're indoors more, it does create a little bit of anxiety and concern that we might face what we did before. I mean, it was pretty tough not being able to go to a graduation ceremony from high school and have to stand outside and 10 feet away to get
Yeah.
your diploma. We don't want to go through that kind of stuff again if we can.
I will say this though: the one good thing about the year before we had vaccines from COVID is that people all wore masks, and when everybody was wearing a mask, we had like virtually no flu and cold season that year because everyone was wearing a mask, which kept their germs in themselves. So I mean,
played a big part in not having a big flu season.
Yeah,
and plus we were social distancing and washing our hands more and all that.
Staying home and not going to
right
our cousin's house for Thanksgiving.
Right. So a lot of things there, but let's hope calmer heads will prevail and we can get past this. But let's end on a positive note, okay? I think we've made our views and thoughts pretty well known on public health and public health and welfare. And so, but we kind of did a big thing the past couple weeks. You know, we always like to talk about sports. We've just delved into a very political conversation. We know people can get kind of wound up about vaccines, but got to talk about cats. It was pretty cool the other night. What did we do with Twiggy? At least it was my first time.
So my mom has a leash that she originally got for Oreo.
Who was our other cat.
That you'll probably hopefully hear from in a upcoming episode. You hear about Oreo. But anyway, so the other day after my brother, sister-in-law, and niece left, we decided to take Twiggy outside on her leash, and she
seemed
didn't
a little
walk.
Well, she was a little, you know, what's the word, timid about coming out in the yard.
Yeah.
The leash didn't seem to bother, but she was in the great outdoors, someplace she hadn't been as long as we've had Twiggy. So she kind of went out on the patio and got down and kind of looked around.
Yeah, and we all got to hold the leash for her is what I mean.
Yeah,
should be more clear.
We tried to get her out in the grass to roll around and play, but that was a big step because your mom's been wanting us to take Twiggy on walks around the neighborhood. I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
My mom has this grand plan of getting a cat stroller, which I've not seen pictures of one before, but I imagine it's the same as a baby stroller.
With netting all around it
with netting.
So the cat can't get around.
Yeah, which I can't say I'd mind if we did that. I mean, I'm sure crazier things have been done when it comes to pets.
Probably. She even sent me a link to a place where I could get a cat backpack that I could carry Oreo around in a back, or Twiggy. Yeah, Oreo, bless her heart, she's 6 feet under.
My favorite cat.
Your favorite. But anyway, so your mom's on this trek. We'll have to have her maybe come on to an episode and kind of walk us through all the different ways you can safely take your cats outdoors without them letting them run free.
Yeah.
And I think your mom's got a bigger plan in place. She wants us to put Twiggy on a leash and take her outside and let her play, and we protect her from getting astray. Yeah. And then we get the cat stroller and we walk her around the neighborhood. Then you know what she's going to want after that?
What?
A catio. She's going to want a big screened-in porch so the cat can go play.
I mean, you and Mom have been talking about enclosing our back patio and making it a screened-in porch for
preseason porch.
Yeah, you guys have been talking about that for years. So
well, but the thing is, I keep talking about it as kind of a man porch where we can have TVs, and watch sports,
we can still have those
listen
things.
to music, sit
we can
outside,
still have those things if we
scream and shout. But then we also are going to have to let the cat come out and play too. So it'll serve multi-functions.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of like the old multi-purpose stadiums.
Yeah.
So that's it for this week. We covered sports,
politics as in current events,
and cats.
Yep.
So what more could we cover? So thank you for joining us for episode 5. We really love having you come and watch our videos. And we invite you to go to YouTube and catch sports, politics, and occasionally cats. Subscribe us if you like it so you can see other episodes in the future. And certainly give us your feedback on how we can make the show more interesting, what kind of sports topics you'd like to hear, any cat stories or pet stories that you'd be interested in hearing. And but really get on there and watch us and record us, or not record us, but like us and subscribe and comment. We'd love to hear back from you. So, Emmett, what do you want to say as we lean out on episode 5?
Please like, share, and subscribe to our podcast as it helps fuel our mission to be as popular as the Kelsey brothers. Thank you and have a great start to the school season. We'll be back with episode 6 probably next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, this is Mark, and thanks for joining us today on Sports, Politics, and Occasionally Cats. Spoc. What a great show we had today, Emmett. Those were wonderful stories. I can't wait to follow up and listen again on all the usual sites where you get podcasts. Go to Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you find your podcast. And it's Spoc. Sports, Politics, and Occasionally Cats. Wow, that's a great, funny story we had about that cat today, Emmett. Thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to hearing you on our next show.